Okay, so get this right. We're diving into shapeshifting. And I've been going through all this Wikipedia stuff you guys sent over. And wow, I had no idea how ancient this stuff goes. It's like, forget werewolves for a second. We're talking Gilgamesh, the Iliad. Like, OG stories already had this.
It's wild, isn't it? You start to see how, no matter the time period, something about transformation just grabs us. Makes you wonder, what is it about shapeshifting that's so, I don't know, primal?
Right. It's like this need to figure out where humanity ends and the natural world begins. Like, those storytellers were wrestling with huge stuff, the unknown, our emotions, all of it.
And how they explain it gets really interesting. Think about those Greek myths. Zeus, king of the gods. He was famous for, well, let's say shapeshifting was his way of getting what he wanted.
Yeah, talk about a smooth operator, huh? Appearing as a shower of gold for one lady, then a swan for another. Not sure that'd fly today. But did they think he was being good or bad using those powers? Or, like, could it be both?
That's the thing about myth, right? It messes with good and evil. Kind of like us, I guess. Shapeshifting could be divine power, sure, or punishing the wicked, but also seduction, like King Lycaon. Legend says he thought he'd test Zeus by serving him. Not the best meal. Let's just say Zeus was not pleased. Turned the guy into a wolf. Lesson learned.
Yikes. Talk about consequences. But it wasn't always punishment, was it? Didn't Zeus use it for romance too sometimes?
Oh, absolutely. Leda and the Swan, that's our guy Zeus. Shapeshifting to, shall we say, pursue his interests. But it wasn't all divine drama. These myths also got into heartbreak, longing, the human side. Like,
Right.
there's this nymph, Clytie. She falls for Helios, the sun god. He rejects her, breaks her heart so bad she turns into a sunflower, just to forever face him as he moves across the sky.
Man, talk about unrequited love. It's amazing how they took these huge ideas, heartbreak, wanting to escape your life, and made them into shape-shifting stories. We can all relate to that, right?
Exactly. And that's what makes it so cool. There's this huge variety of tales across cultures. Werewolves in Europe, but then the Navajo have skinwalkers, the Japanese have kitsune, which are these fox spirits, by the way. And get this, even shape-shifting river dolphins in the Amazon.
Hold up, party dolphins. I am here for this. But first, why does it seem like everyone's got their own version of shape-shifting?
It's like these stories. They show us what a culture finds scary, or what they believe. The Navajo skinwalkers, often seen as evil witches, right? But that ties into their whole worldview, good versus evil, nature's power, sacred knowledge. It's not just a spooky story, it's reflecting how they see the world.
Whoa, that is so interesting. It's like we're peeking into their minds, not just getting a fun story. But okay, back to these party dolphins for a sec. You got to tell me more.
Right, the Encantados. In the Amazon, lots of indigenous folks believe these river dolphins can actually turn human, usually handsome young guys who love to dance and charm. They say these Encantados come from this underwater world, all music and fun times.
Okay, someone get this dolphin a playlist. But seriously, even with the fun stuff, these shape-shifting stories, especially the ones with animals, they're often about the stuff that actually scared people, right?
Totally. Like, the Amazon River is huge, right?
Right.
It can give life or be super dangerous, all this mystery and beauty. Those Encantados, shifting between water and land, human and animal. They're that unknown, both scary and tempting.
So it's a way to make sense of nature, how strong it is, and that it can mess you up.
Exactly. And it takes us to something big in these stories. Blurred lines. It's not just bodies changing, but like crossing over, messing with what even makes us human.
Right, we've done gods, nymphs, witches, dolphins. But what about the classic werewolf? They've been freaking us out for ages. And those transformations, those are usually on the scarier side, right?
For sure. Werewolves, they tap into that fear of losing control, the beast inside, all that primal stuff we try to keep hidden. Totally different than Zeus playing dress up, right? It's not a choice. It's a curse, this thing happening to you.
Like that struggle in us all, being rational versus going wild.
You got it. And how we've seen werewolves through history. It changes as we change. Like back in medieval Europe, total
Yeah.
chaos, right? So werewolves, they're tied to witches, demons, all that spooky stuff.
Makes sense they become the villains for whatever's freaking people out at the time. But hold on, werewolves weren't always evil, right?
You're right. There are some curveballs.
Mm-hmm.
Check this out. Late 1600s, there's this guy, Thies of Livonia. He claimed werewolves were the good guys, fighting for God against demons and witches.
Whoa, werewolf heroes. Didn't see that coming.
Right. It just shows you, even with these stories we think we know, there's always more to it. It's easy to judge it all now, but back then what was monstrous was a whole different thing.
So true. Makes you think, will people in the future think our beliefs are crazy? But before we go full-time traveler here, you said something before about shape-shifting, showing us what it means to be human. It's deeper than just cool creatures and magic, isn't it?
Totally. Like these stories give us permission to think about the big stuff, Like who are we? What's right and wrong? And what's out there that we don't even know about? All through these crazy cool tales.
And it's not always literal, is it? I mean, sometimes it feels like shape-shifting is more about how we change on the inside, those times we feel like different people almost.
Exactly. Like think about those coming of age stories, right? The whole
Hmm.
point is someone's going through these huge changes. It's like they literally shed their old selves. Shape-shifting, but like metaphorically.
It gives us a way to talk about the hard stuff, grief, falling in love, that awkward stage we all went through. But going back to those blurry lines for a sec, what about when it's human and animal mixed up? Those always mess with me a bit.
Those are juicy, right? They make you think about what even makes us different from animals in the first place, like selkies. Those are from those Scottish and Irish myths. They can go from seal to human just by taking their skin off.
Oh, right. And then there's all that stuff about tricking them, stealing their skins so they're stuck as humans. Kind of messed up.
Totally. It's like a warning, right?
Right.
About taking advantage of someone weaker, wanting to control them, how much they lose. Makes you think about power, who has it, what they do with it.
So shapeshifting can be about way more than just like magic power. It's about how we treat each other, too.
For sure. And it's cool to see how different cultures twist that. Like we talked about werewolves being demonic in Europe, but some Native American stories, shape-shifting is spiritual. It's about being close to nature.
Makes sense. Instead of being scared of nature, they're part of it, respecting it.
Exactly. And that takes us back to our encantados, those party dolphin dudes. They're a whole different vibe with nature. Way more chummy than we're used to, right?
Right. Those stories are all about how alluring they are, kind of dangerous, like the Amazon itself.
Totally. They're the wild part of us, the stuff we try to hide or control. And like a little warning too, that nature's awesome, but you got to respect it.
Like these myths are trying to teach us something about ourselves, the world, all of it.
And the cool thing is, there's no right answer. They make you think. Imagine different ways of seeing things. Be okay with not knowing everything.
And speaking of not knowing, what about when it's not even people or animals shapeshifting? Like you sent over stuff about objects, plants, even whole landscapes changing. How's that even work?
Right. Those stories mess with our heads. It's like, what even is alive? Like that Greek myth, Pygmalion, sculptor guy makes this statue, Galatea, and falls in love with it. Aphrodite, the love goddess, feels bad for him, brings it to life.
That's kind of sweet, actually. It makes you think about art, how it can make things feel real, even if they're not.
And then there's those dragon teeth stories. You
Yeah.
plant the teeth and boom, warriors. It's like these myths are saying, hey, anything's possible, change can happen anywhere, anytime.
So it's about looking closer, seeing the magic that's already there if we just open our eyes.
Yeah. And that's the best part, that feeling of wonder that maybe, just maybe, the impossible stuff isn't so impossible after all.
So powerful. Which makes me think if we're all shape shifting in a way, always changing, what does that mean about who we are? Like, is there even such a thing as our true selves, or is it all just becoming?
It's a toughie. Maybe that true self thing is a bit of a trick question. Like, we're always changing. Our
Mm.
experiences, who we're around, even the stories we tell ourselves changes us, right? It's like
Yeah.
we're shape-shifting too, shedding those old versions as we go.
I like that. It's kind of freeing, right? Not being stuck is one thing forever. We can grow, try new things, become something totally new.
Right. And those shape-shifting stories, they give us a way to understand that. Change is scary sometimes, but it can also be awesome, right? It's like these stories say, hey, it's okay to be uncomfortable. That's how you figure out who you really are.
Powerful stuff. Like we should all just go be adventurous, try the unknown, because we can handle it. We can
For sure.
change too.
Exactly. And maybe that's the real magic, yeah. Not turning to a wolf or whatever, but realizing we can see things differently, that we can change how we see the world and ourselves.
So it's about embracing the wildness, that everything's always in motion.
Exactly. Seasons change, the ocean's never still, and neither are we. And in all that change, that's where the good stuff is becoming more ourselves, finding those unexpected moments of beauty. That's what makes us human.
Wow, we went deep on shape-shifting today. Started with folklore, ended up talking about the meaning of life, pretty much.
That's the thing about stories, right? They sneak up on you, make you think about the big stuff without even realizing it.
Totally. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty inspired right now. Thanks for taking this journey with me.
Anytime. And hey, to everyone listening, keep asking those big questions, yeah. Never be afraid to embrace a little change, and never underestimate the power of a good story.